My son preferred his wife's birthday to his mother's funeral, and now he came to me with a request. When my wife died, my son said, "You can't bring mom back, but Ashley's birthday only happens once a year." Those words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. The next day he came to me with an urgent request as if nothing had happened. It was my chance to make amends for the insult he had inflicted on me and his late mother, and I took that chance. My hands trembled as I dialed Brandon's number at 8:30 a.m., adjusting my black tie for the third time. Emma's empty coffee cup sat on the granite countertop, her favorite lipstick still faintly marking the rim, Revlon's Rose Romance, the shade she'd worn for 20 years. The kitchen felt hollow without her morning humming of old Beatles songs. 4 rings, then Brandon's groggy voice answered. "Yeah. Son, it's Dad." I straightened my shoulders, trying to summon the authority I'd once commanded as CEO of Riverside Construction. "The funeral starts at 11:30. Loud country music thumped through the phone. Laughter echoed in the background, Ashley's voice shrieking about decorations and party favors. Brandon cleared his throat with that familiar sound he made when uncomfortable. "Dad, I told you yesterday. Ashley's birthday party is tonight. We've been planning this celebration for months." The words hit like ice water, filling my lungs. I gripped the receiver tighter, my knuckles turning white against the black plastic. "Your mother's funeral is today, Brandon. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Look, Mom's not coming back, but Ashley's birthday only happens once a year." His voice carried that casual dismissiveness I'd grown to hate. "We've got caterers coming from Romano's Italian Bistro. The band's already setting up in our backyard. Your mother raised me for 35 years and I appreciate that, Dad. But I can't just abandon Ashley on her special day. You understand, right?" The dial tone buzzed in my ear like angry wasps. I sat motionless for exactly 3 minutes, staring at Emma's reading glasses beside the cordless phone. The kitchen clock, a wedding gift from Emma's sister, showed 8:47 a.m. My gold wedding band caught the morning sunlight streaming through windows Emma had cleaned just last week, humming "Here Comes the Sun" while she worked. I found the funeral program on the marble counter, Brandon listed as pallbearer in elegant script. My Mont Blanc pen, another gift from Emma, scratched his name out with deliberate, angry strokes. The ink bled through the expensive paper like a wound. At Greenwood Cemetery, faces turned expectantly toward the parking lot. "Where's Brandon?" my sister-in-law Patricia kept asking, her voice growing more concerned with each inquiry. I practiced my response like a politician preparing for hostile questions. "Important commitments." The words tasted bitter as black coffee. 23 people came to honor my wife of 40 years. Her son wasn't one of them. I stood alone beside the mahogany casket, surrounded by Emma's book club friends and our neighbors from Maple Street. The empty space where Brandon should have stood felt enormous, like a missing tooth in an otherwise perfect smile. Mrs. Henderson from next door whispered, "She was so proud of that boy, always talking about his success at the country club." I nodded, my throat tight as a noose. Emma had defended Brandon until her last breath, even when he missed her chemotherapy appointments at St. Mary's Medical Center. "He's just busy with his new life," she'd whispered from her hospital bed, for tubes snaking from her thin arms. "Young couples need space to grow together." The pastor spoke about family bonds and eternal love while I watched dirt fall onto polished wood. Each shovelful buried not just Emma, but my illusions about our son. The sound was final, like a judge's gavel sealing a verdict. Driving home in my black Silverado, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The passenger seat, where Emma used to sit with her purse and reading glasses, stretched empty beside me. She'd always insisted we take her little Honda Civic instead of my truck, said it was better for the environment and got superior gas mileage. The radio played "Something" by the Beatles, Emma's favorite song. I turned it off. Our street looked identical to yesterday, neat lawns, painted mailboxes, the American dream we'd built together brick by brick. I pulled into the driveway of our colonial home and sat for a moment, gathering strength to face the emptiness inside. The front door key turned with its familiar click. I hung my keys on the wooden hook Emma had installed last Christmas, a small everyday action that felt monumental in the devastating silence. No humming from the kitchen, no Food Network murmuring from the living room, just the house settling around 40 years of accumulated memories. I loosened my black tie and collapsed into my brown leather armchair, the one Emma always said clashed with her floral curtains from Pottery Barn. She'd wanted to redecorate for years, but I'd been too busy building the business, chasing contracts and profit margins. Now those curtains would stay forever, a monument to my misplaced priorities. Our wedding photos smiled from the mantelpiece. Emma at 23, radiant in her grandmother's vintage lace dress. We'd married right here in Columbus, Ohio, promising each other everything we had. I delivered on that promise. Maybe too well. The memories flooded back, unbidden and relentless. Brandon taking his first steps across this very living room, chubby hands reaching for Emma's outstretched arms. Birthday parties with homemade decorations because we couldn't afford store-bought celebrations. Emma working double shifts at Murphy's Diner while I got Riverside construction started, her hands cracked from washing dishes and carrying heavy trays. She'd never complained. Not when I worked 16-hour days. Not when we ate macaroni and cheese for weeks straight. "We're building Brandon's future," she'd whisper after he'd fallen asleep between us in our bed, too young for his own room in our tiny apartment. I found Emma's Bible on the nightstand, bookmarks still marking her favorite psalms. A handwritten note fell out like an autumn leaf. "My dearest Christopher, please don't let Brandon forget us. We gave him everything we had. I hope that was enough. All my love, Emma." My hands shook reading her careful script, each letter formed with the precision she'd learned in Catholic school. In our bedroom closet, I discovered the special box Emma had hidden behind her winter coats. Brandon's report cards saved from kindergarten through college graduation. Every A+ celebrated, every achievement treasured like precious gems. She'd written little notes on each one. "So proud. Our brilliant boy. Future CO material." The graduation photos hurt most. Brandon in his cap and gown, MBA degree paid for with Emma's overtime hours and my weekend construction jobs. Total cost, $180,000. His proud smile never acknowledged the sacrifice behind his success, never recognized the dreams we'd deferred for his education. But now, with Emma gone and Brandon absent from her funeral, those sacrifices felt like investments in a company that had gone bankrupt. I pulled out my calculator and started adding numbers that told the story of our generosity. The house down payment I'd given Brandon, $320,000. His wedding to Ashley at the prestigious Riverside Country Club, $85,000. His first car, a BMW 3 Series, $45,000. Graduate school at Northwestern University that he'd insisted on but never used when he dropped out to find himself in Europe, $52,000. The emergency loans for vacations to Hawaii and Italy. Ashley's shopping sprees at Nordstrom. Brandon's failed business ventures. The artisanal coffee shop that lasted 6 months, the food truck that never turned a profit. Emma's coffee mug still sat in the dishwasher, unwashed since her last morning. Her romance novel lay open on the nightstand, bookmark waiting for eyes that would never read again. Get well cards from friends covered the kitchen counter. People who'd cared more about her final months than her own son. The numbers kept climbing like a nightmare I couldn't escape. Brandon's total take over 15 years, $847,000. Nearly $1 million of our lives handed over with love and desperate hope. I remembered my own father, a hard man who'd worked at the Ford plant for 30 years. He'd given me nothing but the expectation to make my own way. "Build your own character," he'd said when I'd asked for college money. "Nobody owes you anything in this world." Maybe he'd been right. Darkness fell outside like a curtain. I didn't bother turning on lights. A car pulled into the driveway, engine idling for several minutes. I didn't get up to check. If Brandon wanted to apologize, he knew where to find me. The engine revved and drove away. At 6 a.m., I sat at my mahogany desk with file folders spread in precise rows. Brandon education, Brandon house, Brandon wedding. My coffee grew cold as I opened the calculator app and began the reckoning Emma had been too kind to demand. Emma's reading glasses reflected my computer screen as I pulled up bank records. 15 years of transactions, each one marked transfer to Brandon or loan Brandon emergency. The papers rustled in the quiet house, the only sounds in my new reality. College tuition first, 4 years at $48,000 each. I remembered writing those checks, Emma working extra shifts to cover our own bills while our son partied at Ohio State University. Then graduate school, another $52,000 for an MBA he'd never used, dropping out of Northwestern to backpack through Europe with Ashley. That European trip, $35,000. Just temporary, Dad, until I get established in my career. The house purchase nearly broke us financially. Brandon at 25, standing in our living room with Ashley's engagement ring sparkling on her finger. We found the perfect place in Westerville, but we're a little short on the down payment. $320,000. I'd co-signed the mortgage, covered every penny of the down payment. Family helps family, Brandon had said, hugging me tight with false warmth. I'll pay you back once my career takes off. What career? He'd been working for me since graduation, drawing a salary he hadn't earned while learning skills I'd hoped he'd value. Emma's secret notebook fell from the files, her handwriting documenting every sacrifice we'd made. Anniversary dinner canceled. Needed $5,000 for Brandon's car repair. Postponed my doctor visit. Brandon's wedding costs higher than expected. Bought generic groceries this month. Sent Brandon money for Ashley's birthday surprise. Her final note cut deepest. We gave Brandon everything. I hope he remembers us kindly when we're gone. The calculator's numbers climbed remorselessly. $847,000. More than $750,000. My father had given me $20 and a handshake when I left home. I'd built everything from nothing, and Brandon saw it all as his inheritance to spend while we were still alive. The phone rang, shattering my concentration. Brandon's name lit up the caller ID like a warning signal. Hey Dad. Hope you're doing okay after yesterday. Brandon's voice carried that familiar cheerful tone, the one he used when he needed something. I noticed he didn't mention the funeral specifically, didn't ask how I was coping without Emma. I'm managing, I kept my voice steady, staring at the financial documents scattered across my desk like evidence in a criminal case. Good. Listen, I'm calling because we need to cover some unexpected costs. Ashley's party was absolutely amazing. You should have seen it, Dad. We really went all out. You know how it is, you only turn 32 once, right? In the background, I could hear Ashley's voice. Tell him about the band we hired. Yeah, so we hired this incredible cover band called Second Chance. Took everyone to Morton's Steakhouse afterward. Got Ashley this gorgeous diamond bracelet from Tiffany's. She deserves the best, you know. But now the credit card bills are coming in and we're looking at about $15,000 in immediate payments. $15,000. I calculated quickly. Loan number 47 over 15 years. Yesterday I'd buried my wife. Today my son wanted money for a party. So can you just wire it to my account today? Ashley's really stressed about the bills, and you know how she gets when she's worried about money. The moment stretched between us like a chasm. I looked at Emma's photograph, then at the neat columns of numbers documenting Brandon's total cost to our marriage. No. Silence. Then, what do you mean no? Is there a problem with the bank account? I mean no, Brandon. I won't be giving you any more money. The cheerful mask slipped from his voice. Are you seriously saying no to me right now after everything we've been through this week? Everything we'd been through? As if he'd suffered through Emma's funeral instead of throwing a party. You're 35 years old, Brandon. So what does that have to do with helping your son out of a financial jam? It's not like you can't afford it, Dad. Ashley's voice escalated in the background. Tell him we need that money. We already spent it. I said no. The words felt strange in my mouth, the first time I'd ever denied Brandon anything. This is unbelievable. His voice turned cold as winter. Mom just died and you're being petty about money? She'd want you to help us, Dad. She always said family comes first. The manipulation was so casual, so practiced. How many times had he played this card? How many times had Emma and I folded because he invoked family loyalty? Your mother wanted you at her funeral. Brandon's breathing grew harsh. Fine. We'll figure this out ourselves. Max out more credit cards, borrow from Ashley's parents, whatever it takes. But don't expect us to come around much anymore if this is how you're going to be. The threat hung in the air like smoke from a fire. For 35 years, it had worked perfectly. Brandon's presence as a reward for my money, his absence as punishment for saying no. I understand, I said calmly. You what? I understand. Take care, Brandon. I hung up before he could respond. The phone sat silent on my desk, no longer an instrument of manipulation. For the first time in decades, I'd ended a conversation with my son on my terms. I opened my laptop and scrolled to Brandon's employee file at Riverside Construction. Tomorrow morning, we'd have a different kind of conversation. One conducted in the office where I was the boss, not the father who'd forgotten the difference. If Brandon wanted to treat me like a stranger, I'd accommodate him professionally. At 7:30 a.m., I walked through Riverside Construction's lobby 2 hours before Brandon's usual arrival. His employee photo hung on the management wall, smiling confidently in a suit I'd bought him. Today I studied that image with different eyes, seeing entitlement where I'd once seen promise. In my office, Brandon's personnel files spread across my desk like evidence in a court case. 8 years of employment records told the real story. Missed deadlines, contractor complaints, inflated expense reports, projects delayed because Brandon prioritized long lunches over job site supervision, client relationships damaged by his casual attitude toward commitments. I'd made excuses for all of it. Family loyalty. Emma's gentle reminders that Brandon was still learning. But these documents revealed a pattern of professional negligence that would have ended any other employee's career years ago. At 8:45, I called Linda Rodriguez to my office. As HR director, she'd need to handle the paperwork properly. Her face showed no surprise when I explained my decision. She'd been documenting Brandon's infractions for months, waiting for me to act. "I'll prepare the termination documents immediately," she said quietly. "Security escort protocol?" "Yes." "Standard procedure for management terminations." I practiced my speech in the office mirror, watching my reflection deliver the words with steady professionalism. No emotion, no explanation beyond what the law required. Brandon would enter this room as my son and leave as a terminated employee. At 9:30, Brandon strolled in 15 minutes late, joking with the receptionist about his recovery from Ashley's party. His laughter echoed through the lobby while coworkers glanced nervously toward my closed office door. He stopped at the coffee machine, completely oblivious to the storm ahead. "Brandon, please come to my office immediately." My voice through the intercom carried new authority. "Sure, Dad. Just let me grab my coffee. Now, Brandon." The silence that followed told me he'd heard the change. His footsteps approached slowly, heavier than usual. When he opened my door and saw Linda waiting with paperwork, his smile faltered. "What's with the formal setup?" He attempted his usual casual tone, but uncertainty crept through. I remained seated, hands folded on the desk. "Brandon, your employment with Riverside Construction is terminated effective immediately." His laugh sounded forced. "Very funny, Dad. What's this really about?" I slid the termination papers across the polished surface. "Please review these documents and sign where indicated." The papers seemed to burn his fingers as he picked them up. His eyes scanned the legal language, face growing pale. "You can't be serious. This is our family business. This decision is based on your work performance and professional conduct." My voice remained level, businesslike. "Your position has been eliminated due to restructuring." "This is about yesterday's phone call, isn't it?" His voice cracked slightly. "Look, I'm sorry about the money thing, Dad. We can work this out. Security will escort you to collect your personal items." Brandon's demeanor shifted from disbelief to desperation. "Mom wouldn't want this." "You know she wouldn't." I pressed the security button. "This is a business decision, not a personal one." Mike Thompson appeared in the doorway, professional but sympathetic. Brandon's face flushed red as he realized the humiliation was real. Coworkers gathered in the hallway, watching their former boss's son being escorted out like a common criminal. "Dad, please." Brandon's final appeal came as he grabbed his coffee mug and desktop photo of Ashley. "Think about what this means for our relationship." I met his eyes for the first time during the encounter. "I have." Through my office window, I watched him load his pathetic collection of personal items into his aging Honda Accord. The BMW had been repossessed last month, though I'd only learned about it through Linda's discreet investigation. His shoulders shook with rage or grief, I couldn't tell which. When he looked back at the building one last time, I turned away. 6 months after my bank meeting, the county foreclosure auction took place on the courthouse steps. I observed from across the street in my black Silverado, watching as 1247 Elm Street, Brandon and Ashley's former dream home, went up for public sale. The county auctioneer read the legal description with bureaucratic precision, while a small crowd of real estate investors and curious onlookers gathered on the granite steps of the Franklin County Courthouse. Brandon and Ashley stood apart from the crowd, Ashley's tears reflecting the autumn sunlight. Through my binoculars, I watched their final humiliation unfold with the cold satisfaction of a general observing a defeated enemy. "Opening bid is $280,000 for this 4-bedroom colonial," the auctioneer announced, his voice echoing off the courthouse walls. A woman in a navy business suit raised her hand confidently. Brandon frantically tried to identify her while whispering urgently to Ashley, his desperation visible even from my distant vantage point. The bidding reached $315,000 with only 2 participants remaining, the mystery woman and a local contractor I recognized from industry meetings. When my attorney, Robert Mitchell, arrived and nodded to the woman, Brandon's growing suspicion crystallized into shocked realization. "That's Dad's lawyer," he whispered to Ashley, his voice carrying across the quiet crowd. Ashley's disbelief was audible. He couldn't. Brandon's desperate attempt to approach the mystery bidder was prevented by courthouse security. The auction continued with mechanical efficiency while Brandon's world collapsed in real time. $317,000? Called the woman in navy blue. Going once, going twice, sold. Brandon's legs gave out. Ashley's scream, "This is our home," echoed off the courthouse walls as the auctioneer's gavel sealed their fate. I exited my truck and walked toward the courthouse steps, my presence causing Brandon to understand the complete scope of my 6-month strategy. The guarantee withdrawal, the perfect timing, the bid amount calculated to exactly match their mortgage balance. Everything had been orchestrated with business precision. The mystery bidder revealed herself as Linda Rodriguez, my trusted HR director, acting as agent for the newly formed Rodriguez Holdings LLC. Brandon stumbled toward me on shaking legs, his broken voice barely audible. "How could you do this to us?" "I didn't do anything," I replied calmly. "The bank did." His desperate pleas about Emma's favorite garden and her love for this house met my cold response. "Emma's not here to see what you've become." Ashley's final attack came as a wild lunge, screaming accusations about elder abuse and mental incompetence. Robert documented her hysteria while security escorted her away from me. The entire scene provided perfect evidence of their true character. 2 weeks later, the moving truck looked pitifully small for their former life. Ashley threw clothes into suitcases with violent anger while Brandon carefully wrapped Emma's crystal vase, the last gift that connected him to his mother. Their former neighbors watched but offered no help. The social exile was complete. That evening, Brandon called from a pay phone outside a cheap motel, his cell service canceled. The phone rang in my house, but seeing his name on caller ID, I let it go to voicemail. The final confrontation could wait. 1 year later, I walked through Riverside Cemetery on a sunny May morning, carrying fresh daisies to Emma's grave. Birds sang in the oak trees while spring flowers bloomed along the walking paths. I looked healthier and more at peace than I had in years. Kneeling beside Emma's polished granite headstone, I arranged the new daisies while speaking softly about the Emma Foster Memorial Foundation's thriving first year. 20 scholarships awarded to deserving students, $200,000 donated to cancer research in Emma's name, the community center dedication planned for Emma's birthday. Brandon works at Murphy's Diner now, I reported matter-of-factly. His divorce was finalized last month. Ashley remarried her restaurant owner ex-boyfriend. Brandon lived in complete social isolation and financial struggle. I felt no satisfaction in his suffering, only justice. Leaving the cemetery, I stopped at Murphy's Diner where Brandon worked behind the counter, wearing a stained uniform. Our eyes met across the restaurant. His shocked recognition and visible shame were palpable as I calmly ordered coffee, treating him like any service worker. "How are you doing, Dad?" Brandon's voice carried genuine humility for the first time. "I'm well, thank you." "I know sorry isn't enough," he said quietly. "No, it isn't." Brandon's admission surprised me. "I understand now what I lost. It was never about the money, was it? You wanted me to love you, not your wallet. Your mother wanted that too." For the first time, Brandon's tears seemed genuine. "I did what I had to do," I explained. "Emma would have approved. I have no regrets about any of it." "I know," Brandon accepted. "I deserved all of it." "Yes, you did." When Brandon asked if there was any way back, I answered honestly, "I don't know. Maybe. You'd have to prove you've really changed. Not with words, show me through your actions." I described my new life: volunteer work at the community center, new friendships with other volunteers, Sunday dinners with the Johnson family whose daughter received a scholarship. I was dating Grace, a kind widow from church. My life was full of purpose and genuine relationships. Visiting Jennifer Adams, our first scholarship recipient, brought deep satisfaction. Her gratitude for the opportunity to attend nursing school, her heartfelt letter to Emma's memory on the foundation website. Emma's memory lived on through education. Driving home past Brandon's old house, I saw the Martinez family had transformed it into a home filled with love and gratitude. Mr. Martinez waved from the garden Emma once tended. Children played where Brandon once played. The house embodied everything Emma had valued. That evening, I prepared dinner in the kitchen I once shared with Emma, setting one place without sadness. My phone rang with Grace calling about our weekend plans. I smiled, the first genuine happiness since Emma's death. Standing in the garden at sunset, pruning Emma's rose bushes, I felt the peace of a man who'd fought for justice and won. My certain knowledge that I'd honored my wife's memory brought complete satisfaction. Going to bed early, I slept soundly for the first time in 2 years, dreaming of Emma smiling and telling me, "You did the right thing, Christopher. I'm proud of you." Justice was served. Love had required tough choices, but the right choices. Rest in peace, my love.